Stick It With the Programming. I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grundler.
Wolverine.
We are not the only ones here, but I'm excited to... I don't know if I'm excited to bring closure, because I'm kind of sad that it's going away for now. Maybe it could come back. I feel like we've said this like every 5 times. This is the last.
the last time.
Yeah, the last and last time. But one's been riding with us since the beginning of this is welcoming to the show Mr. John Young.
That is right, I did it! That's number 5! Are you kidding me? That's right! Who do you think you are? I am!
And while we're at it, for a very special, potentially final episode, we felt it must be appropriate to bring on the one that has made this all possible for us to speculate and confuse maybe some people that think like this is the real thing, which is kind of cool because that's how good this has been and through this whole process. And it wouldn't be possible without Mr. Mike Halpin from Known and Knowable.
What's up?
Hey, what was that?
Went forward in time to view alternate futures, to see all the possible outcomes of the coming conflict.
How many did you see?
14,605,000.
Oh my gosh.
How many did we win?
Oh, it's a long pause.
Mr. Mike Halpin. That's a long one. We're probably going to get a strike for that one for sure. However,
I was upset with how long that took me to figure out where it was that reference.
Totally appropriate, though, man. Completely appropriate.
100%. 10,000 different alternate futures that we looked into. I figured that played really well to this entire process of what we're doing. And if you guys don't know Mike and what Mike's been doing with Known and Knowable, Mike, how many subscribers has Known and Knowable put on in the last 3 months since the Open?
Wow.
7,000?
I had less than 3,000.
Sorry.
Dang, dude.
Well, if you guys want to
thank you.
peek into the brain of Mr. Mike, go to Known and Knowable, give them a follow on Instagram. They put out a bunch of stuff all the time with stats, predictions, what ifs as a part of that, and it's a fantastic place to nerd out along with us. And it's been really cool to watch you work, Mike. Obviously, you've been behind the scenes of putting all of these wonderful presentations together. So and then you went you went camping in the middle of all the chaos of quarterfinals.
I thought that was hysterical. The fact that you had to put something on your story to say, "Hey, everybody, I get it, but I'm out camping."
I'll be right back.
The twist of that story that most people haven't heard, but you might have seen him do it. What should have been the rookie of the year, and I don't want to say that lightly. Yella Hosta jumped in, messaging me on Instagram to say, "Hey, can you show me how to do this? And I can repeat it while you're camping."
No way. Oh, so he reached out to see how you do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's
Dude, that's
he's
like
some sort of
sharing-
data analyst.
That's sharing the family recipe for the banana bread there. That is good for you.
He looks like one. He looks like a Belgian accountant. I can see it.
Are we doing jobs and occupations again? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, let's not do that. I
That's what
got
I'm
a
here
little
for. That's
bit
the
of,
only reason I wanted to jump on. Is
I got a little bit of trouble when I went downstairs after that one. But before we get to the final of the GWTP Strength of Field system, we have Mike on because we finally got the new Strength of Field system from CrossFit, the official one. I guess I should just say the official one without air quotes, but it is technically the official one. And we're going to go through our system today all the way to the end and get our top 100. And then we'll take a look at what the difference is between CrossFit's version that just came out. That has stirred up zero controversy or conversation, and we'll have a conversation centered around that. But before we get there, what this all is leading to and why we're here to begin with is not only how people get to semifinals, but how people get to the CrossFit Games. More importantly, how many spots every semifinal will get as they try to make their bid to the CrossFit Games. And Europe is going to kick off week 1, which will be, a week from now, we'll be deep in it, right? Saturday, moving day, in quotes. We know that if you're on the individual side, you've got 2 events on this day after one Friday with 3 looming on Sunday. And if your teams, this is the last day for you. You get 2 days and 2 days only with 3 events day 1, 2 events day 2 for the team. So Saturday is actually going to be a pretty big day for the semifinals. But the next week, Memorial Day weekend, will be the return of the tennis stadium in Carson, California. Semifinals is coming up for the North American West and North American East, starting May 24th through 26th in Carson, California with the West Coast Classic. If you guys are watching along on YouTube, scan that QR code, get those 3-day, 2-day, single-day passes to go back to the most hallowed ground that is the tennis stadium of that outside competition, which is unlike anything we've ever had in the sport, outside, I guess, of Aromas, which is the mecca of where it all began. And then the following weekend, May 31st through June 2nd, you have the North America East Syndicate Crown semifinals. Again, you can scan the QR codes, get tickets, or do yourself a favor. They have a community event going on. You guys can join the community event, pick one day of the 3. They have 3 different events each single day. They've got teams of 2, singles, and trios. And if you buy a ticket to compete, you get tickets for the weekend to go in person. So that will be coming up the final 2 weeks of semifinals. And if you can't be there in person, you can play a specific game at home. If you guys haven't been playing the Heat 1 app, you guys are missing out completely, because now not only is it on your phone, but super fun and super easy to play. They've got a new format and a massive purse buyout for this year's semifinals.
The Heat 1 app. The Heat 1 app.
All right, folks, it's time for Heat 1 Semifinals 2024 edition. For semifinals, GoWatt has been kind enough to partner with us and give us $5,000 in cash prizes to hand over to you guys. We also have 2 tickets to the CrossFit Games up for grabs, so you can pay for yourself to get to the games. You can start by going to the Apple or Android store to download the app. We have some changes to the ways you can play. For those who remember our top 10 game, we've changed this to the qualifying spots. We'll have both qualifiers and people who are just on the outside, so you can get in on the action of who you think is going to qualify and who you think will miss the boat. We are also bringing back a fan favorite, the ability to create or join custom leagues. There, you'll be able to create a public or private game so you can play just with your friends or anybody who's open to play against you. As for that $5,000, $1,500 will be given away each week at each one of the major semifinals: Europe, North America West, and North America East. You can win this by going to each region, entering the Heat 1 Shot Caller League, and making your picks there. If you haven't downloaded, scan the QR code. Once you're in, make your picks, invite your friends, and enjoy the next 3 weeks of the semifinals. Good luck.
The Heat 1 app.
You guys can head over to Instagram. The Heat1.app is where they at. We put the link of Instagram in the chat. You can download that on your apps on your phone. You can just create a profile and you can play. And Barclaydale, Tyler needs to practice balloon beat.
Intense.
The cold, intense. What is it? Fierce Gaze. What is it? What movie is that from? Fierce Gaze. Oh, what's that movie with The Rock?
Jumanji.
No, not Jumanji. It's he went down to Brazil to collect
Walking Tall.
Walking, no, not walking
No,
tall.
no,
Dang
no.
it.
It's the other one. It's the other
Fast
one.
Five.
No,
No,
no.
not that 5.
I get
We're
walking tall.
getting this.
Run it. It's something runaway.
Rundown.
The rundown.
Yeah, we got there. Gosh, that would have upset me for the rest of the podcast if I
No,
couldn't figure
that
it
and
out.
Walking Tall go hand in hand. Those are the 2 best rock movies of all time.
Dude, I can't disagree. Doom was pretty good, but that's more like video game stuff, and it was a little bit wild. But guys, there's a lot going on, and we have a lot to get to, and we have a lot of things to talk about as we work our way towards our final standings for the top 100. Is everybody ready to party or what? Yes,
dude.
All right, let's do it.
do
Let's
it.
pull it up. Let's pull it up.
We'll
start.
Colton doesn't make the games.
Oh yeah, we should go through your picks and what that did. I know you guys talked about that on the spin. By the way, if you guys haven't been to I'm derailing as we go through this, but if you guys haven't gone to the barbell spin or watched the spin, the last 2 episodes they've had on YouTube has been absolutely incredible. The one where Boz came on was fantastic. He dropped the bomb of what the strength of field could look like live on the show. That was Wednesday, and then came out Friday. And then what was it? Betting with the boys?
Yeah.
Was that the?
Oh
Don't worry,
no,
Colton.
he did the blind rankings with us.
Oh yeah, blind rankings. Colton,
Boz was
sad
great.
face from Colton Mertens. John, would you like to address this, please? You're making Colton sad in the chat.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there.
All
Here,
right, we'll get there.
I'll
Colton,
pin,
stick
I'll
with
pin
us
my
better.
picks. I'll pin my picks so you can go to that post, and then we can see if he makes it or not.
Yes, and that was the previous episode. If you guys see this, the smaller regions gets more spots episode. John goes through his picks and what the new spot allocations did to his potential picks. And if you guys didn't watch Kill Taylor this morning,
Oh
it was
my
by far
goodness!
the greatest episode of all of them. More than Taylor versus the world in the Open, Taylor versus the world in quarterfinals, and the first 2 Kill Taylors today was absolute madness the entire time. So highly recommend you guys go and watch that. And all right, Mike, let's get back to your baby here. Or our baby, It's what is it?
baby.
3 minute, 3
Takes
minute
2.
baby, 4
3
dudes
minute
in a. I don't know. What is that show?
Okay, I'm not gonna explain how it works. Yeah.
All right, let me get. Oh, okay. Here we are. All right, let's get to it. All right, we're going to go through the worldwide rankings actual and then top 100 actual. Now, is this actual post open pre what we just had, or have you?
No, I did not spin that around in
Okay.
a few hours' time.
Yeah. So this is what it was, and then we'll talk about what it is relative to what we have. All right. So we'll get there. All right, we got your 7 regions. You guys know what they are by now. You've been watching here. Patrick Clark, Humboldt. Yep, hello.
Oh, shot.
They would be a color. Okay, so this also pertains to what we'll get to at the end, right, Mike? So this was the actual top 100 from CrossFit after the 2023 CrossFit Games, pre-open. Because they didn't reseed the top 100 until recently after quarterfinals. So this is all we knew. This was officially coming out of CrossFit to start the season. So you had 27 men in West and East, 27 men in Europe, 4 South America, 3 in Africa and Asia, and 4 in Oceania. This was CrossFit's actual top 100 pre-season starting. These were your top 100 cut line. As we said before, David Sharunki sitting at 97, just misses out this year of semifinals. Victor Hoffer, as you saw outside looking in. Now, this was the numbers we all had and going off of, which, John, were these the numbers you went off of when you made your picks as far as who's in, who's out going into semifinals, or based off loose calculations?
That we basically went off this, and then what Spin projected it would be going into that. And I don't think he didn't know that Boz was going to do that. I think it freaked him out because he was I mean, the most animated person. Like,
he repeated the same thing after Boz left. He repeated the same thing over and over again. And he was like, well, hold on. I don't know what Boz said is going to mean for it. I was like, yep.
Yeah, that was quite a bomb. So this is what it was prior to the season starting. These are what they basically were from the CrossFit Games season last year. 10 in the West, 12 in the East, 10 in Europe. And then it should be noted that every semifinal gets certain spots automatically from CrossFit before we run the calculation. So it's 5 in the big 3, West, East, and Europe. They all got 5 for men and women. And then South America, Asia got 2, Africa 1, Oceania 3. Now, in this system, which was said a lot, is that based off CrossFit's system that they were using, which was 2 years of backlogged competition experience, regardless of individual, team, retirement. If you signed up to compete and you scored and you made the top 100, they used that top 100 for their strength of field. The big thing there was we didn't think the other smaller regions would be able to get any spots because of that current system that they had, which oddly enough, and we'll get to, people were very upset about. And so it's kind of funny where we got to at this point in time. Here's the women's top 100 actual 25 in the West and East, or 28 in the West. This will be important. Before the season started, 28 in the West. I'll say it one more time, 28 women in the West, 25 in the East, 33 in Europe, and then 4 South America, 3 in Africa and Asia, and 4 in Oceania. This is your top 100 cut line going into the season pre-open, and this is what it was as far as game spots going in. If you can see the smaller 4 regions, no changes, no extra spots in the big 3, 10 in both North America semifinals and 12 in Europe. Our system, as we talked before, is that we needed a new system to reflect the current level of competition throughout the season at which it started. So we start Open 2024. Open 2024, we're using your worldwide overall rank from the Open with your worldwide, or combined with your worldwide overall rank in quarterfinals. And then we're only using the individuals that were competing at semifinals live in competition as the field to pull from the top 100. Our game spots allocations was only 1 per every semifinal versus the 5, 3s, 2s, and 1s that CrossFit was giving. And then we would divvy up the remaining 33 spots among the semifinals. And this is what it's explained. So if you got first in the Open and first in quarterfinals, your total combined points per place is 2. And then you get ranked based off that number with the worldwide field. Yonakoski has 2 points because he won both. And then our GWTP rank, it's actually Danielle Brandon based off her 12th place worldwide finish, 5th place quarterfinals, and 17 points is what she had, and she had the top of the field. If you want to look at lesser athletes, apparently Mike thought it was appropriate to do a more real-world explanation of what this is. And apparently John smoked me this year using our GWTP rankings, which I'll just say.
I kept the mountain in the background.
Yeah, I kept the mountain in the background.
I appreciate that.
This will be different next year. I'll just
make
say
sure
that.
to take my semifinal scores, okay? Because I won't be last place.
There
That's
we
all
go.
I know. I won't be last place in a semifinal.
There we go. So for fun, thank you, Mike, for showing how far I have fallen from the mountain into the current place.
Beneath me? You should have put Bill's scores, because I'm pretty sure Bill is a little bit.
Yeah, Bill smoked all of us. Mike, if you want to go through, so this is our top 10 ranking using our system.
Yeah, so the way the system works, again, as Chase explained, is similar to how the Open works or quarterfinals works, where it's your placement equals your points. We do it the same way. So for Koski there, he has 2 total points because he won the Open and he won quarterfinals. That says unofficial still. I missed that. That's pretty official now at this point. And then Jeff Adler has 10 points, 8th in the Open and 2nd in quarterfinals, and so on and so on. I have this list. If anybody actually wanted to see it, I have this list for every single.
Oh wow!
Quarterfinals athlete. So if you, that's how I could find you too. No offense, you're a little bit further down. But yeah, that's how this works.
Scroll.
So we get that GWTP rank by ranking those points, and then find the top 100 from there. So instead of CrossFit's system where you get up to 1,000 points for the Open, up to 2,000 points for quarterfinals, various points up to 4,000 for semis, and then 10,000 up to.
And it was all based off your percentile finish, right? So if you're in the 99th percentile,
yeah, exactly.
You get 1,000 points in the Open, and that actually spans hundreds and hundreds of athletes, where there was no separation and no incentivizing athletes to actually try hard in the Open. And part of this system was a product of trying to make the Open matter again, trying to make quarterfinals matter again. And as we guys showed you on a week-to-week basis throughout the Open and quarterfinals, is a massive opportunity to create excitement, drama, engagement weekly throughout the season with content, bringing up athletes on the bubble that you probably would have never talked about prior to a system like this.
Exactly. And then the other piece of that really is that the most exciting time you just talked about there, the Open, it's happening, quarterfinals is happening, movement is happening in the system we've built here. In CrossFit system, the way the 2-year look back period goes is it just sort of shifts a place over. So if you got less than first in the Open, you get about 990 points. And if you get less than first in quarterfinals, you get about 1980. Again, I'm not trying to make everybody's eyes glaze over, but that was from 22, was 2 years ago. And now at 24, you add it. So for most athletes, there's not actually movement on the leaderboard the way that CrossFit has it, because you really just lose 3,000 points and then you add 3,000 points by the time the leaderboard changes. Like most athletes, Jeff Adler, athletes like that, even Jon Koski winning these two events this year, he really didn't move at all. He's still at the same place he was after finishing.
I feel like people only moved on the leaderboard that if somebody like just wasn't competing this year. So if you were above me, that's why I moved up one spot, not because my performance really dictated that movement.
Yeah. So the Games has released some of the leaderboards now. And if you go out to their Instagram, it has new next to Tia Claire Toomey's name, as if she's like this unknown talent that just jumped onto the leaderboard in 7th place overall. It has new there. And that's only because the last time they did the leaderboard, they remove anybody that doesn't do quarterfinals. So she didn't do it last year. I think there was the potential that she could have pulled like a fast one on everybody and just tried it at least. But yeah, she didn't do that. And so she's new on the leaderboard, similar to Haley Adams, is also a little bit further down, but listed as new. Yeah.
So would you agree with that, Halpin, that the majority of the reason we saw the change in spots, at least for where CrossFit was allocating them, it's just because of people who are not competing or who went team, and it's not because of performance at all? I mean, not
performance this year,
but
I mean, nothing they did or didn't do.
I mean, it's still based off their performance of the last 2 years, but the Open and quarters, how they performed, didn't change their spot in the top 100. It was more just the Games deciding to remove athletes from the leaderboard than they did the previous year.
Well, and this is why Spin was so upset with like the new region, the worst regions are getting added spots through no performance of their own at all.
Oh, you know what?
We're just taking spots away.
A lot more sense.
That's why he was upset. It's just hard to explain, right? Because you gotta go through a whole Halpin soliloquy to finally get this is why it happened. This is why it happened that way. No offense, Mike. But like,
I can do another one. But on that topic, I'll give you the short, sweet version. Like, yes, the 100-person line, whoever that is, male or female, was around 7,500 points. And now with the change that they made, and I know we're going to talk about that more as we go here, with that change that they made, it's more like 6,000.
Meaning there was no performance gain at all. It's just people that left.
Yeah.
It's people that left, and then it's the system that they've changed to, that they announced on.
Yeah. Well,
live to you, John.
Or people who they took out.
Yeah, they took out a whole bunch of people, whether they left or whether they changed the system. Now it's just the fittest 40 in Africa that are going to semifinals that all just got 3,000 points for doing the Open and quarterfinals.
Right.
Probably did the Open and quarterfinals last year. If you add those together, that's 6,000 points. So there's athletes that are impacting or close to impacting the top 100 that all they did was the Open and quarterfinals. Over the last
They signed up and competed, and
they're points other people aren't getting.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
That's
and
a very good
that's-
point, John.
well,
That
that's
makes
what's
so much
showing.
more sense now that because like when Spin was so upset, I was like, "What's the?" And then I was like, "Oh."
Well, and
okay.
so was Hiller. Like Hiller wrote in and said that, and I mean, and I understood it, but I couldn't explain it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that's why you kind of have to have a conversation as to why it's a problem.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So
that's why.
let's continue a little bit. And so this really is another reason of why this system that we have is so important and why we think the value of actual real-time performance-based metrics to find your top 100 is so valuable because of what we're seeing in this whole system is as we're going through the top 10 with our rankings, obviously Danielle Brandon, 12th and 8th. She's got 20 points. Gracie Walton, 2nd and 20th, 22. And that's how we rank from there. The same thing that we saw for the men. But the other flip side of that is, we wanted to talk about how penalties affected our top 100 ranking system because it does. Whereas in this other system of which CrossFit uses, it doesn't. Because if you get second in quarterfinals or 600, you're still going to be in the top 99%. You're still going to get 999 points. So there is no effect there. So with our ranking system these are all the athletes that have been removed from competition. This is for the women. These are the team athletes that were set up. And this is the post-open leaderboard. And we'll go phase by phase if this is your first time here. What's up at your mouse? Nobody was saying anything bad yet. This is going to be step by step of our entire season using inside the leaderboard. So this initial drop is based off the pre-open rankings that CrossFit had. Is that right, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Okay, based off the pre-open. We said we want to draw attention to the West. The West women had 28 coming into the open, and post-open they lost 15. East went up 8, Europe went up 9, Oceania went up 4, Africa dropped out completely with South America and Asia with 3. This was after the Open. The next stage would be after quarterfinal submission day 1, where the West women lost another one, East 3, Europe all the way up to 48 women in the top 100 using our system. South America, Asia was 0. Africa and South America was 0. Asia still holding on to 3. Oceania losing that 1. And this was submission window after 2, but before, Mike, we got one more slide, before the video review and penalties. Is that correct with our final slide?
This one's not final. We were calling this final last time we were meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Or last time you guys were on.
Post quarterfinals without video review and penalties and individual submissions and acceptance. This is where we landed.
That only North America was hurt.
Well, North America West women moved up to 15, East 32, Europe down to 44, South America and Africa still 0 in this season. Asia went up 1, and Oceania lost 2. And so the final slide. Okay, what are the bets, John? Obviously, Mike, you can't bet.
This is this is pre-penalty and then post-penalty, right?
Yeah.
Right.
This is pre-penalty. Yep.
Pre-penalty.
I'm betting that only North America was hurt.
All right, Bill.
I was going to say the same thing. We went over the leaderboard the last time, and there was a lot of movement in North America, and I didn't see anything real drastic in there.
And I'm going to go. I'm incredibly biased with this. I don't think North America people are cheating at an absurd rate that the other parts of the world are not cheating.
That's a bold take.
Yeah. That was John Young, by the way, if anybody's listening.
Why did you feel you had to throw that in there?
Because the other places are not getting penalized at the same rate that North America is.
Well, some would argue that between North America, East and West, there was a different critique of.
I heard that one. Yeah.
Video. All right. So, Halpin, is this next slide? Is this our last one? Our official one?
With it.
All right. It's all come down to this. This is the top 100 of our GWTP system as we head into semifinals. The West held pat at 15. East lost 2. Europe lost 1. South America and Africa have 0. Asia still holds on to 4, which I'm very impressed with. And then Oceania, the 3 that were lost, Oceania got those 3, so now they're sitting at 8, which I was surprised that. I don't know. Am I more surprised that? I'll ask you guys this: are you more surprised South America or Africa got no change, or that Asia held on to their 4?
I think we've been talking about Asia this whole time, and the fact that they've been right in there. They're not at the top end of the 100, but they've been right up at the that bottom 25, and they've been able to hold that spot pretty well. So I'm stoked that they're there.
John,
Why would South America and Africa change?
I mean, you'd figure you get. I mean, they have enough athletes, I would say, to get at least 1 in the top 100. I would have thought.
No, they're trash, man.
John's seen these slides enough. When you get to a few pages later, it starts to show where athletes are, and South America might be close, but Africa, like it's 200s before you get to an African athlete.
Patrick Clark, Asian women were helped by a few athletes being allowed to compete in that region. I did hear that. All right, next slide.
Here it comes.
The women of Oceania. Yeah, not the games.
I forgot I stretched it out. Yeah, I forgot. Of all the people that should know the order of this, it's me.
Yeah,
and,
Erica Pilasti is the 98th one in the Australian, I don't know if she is Australian, but the Oceania version of Haley Adams, just outside the top 100, 105 as Gemma Hawk. Women of Asia, Sehir Kaya, John Young. I'm just practicing, John. Duan Young, Sung Young Choi, and Evie Hollis as your top 104 athletes that held in there. Victoria Campos and Julia Cato. I would have thought they would have been closer to the top 100, personally.
I thought Campos would have, because she's been
around a while.
Yeah.
And again, these are based off their Open and Quarterfinals performance after video review with the worldwide rankings against each other. The next region will be Africa. Christina Livididakis. Ooh, that's way better. That rolls off the tongue nicely. Livididakis. I like that. I like that a lot. And then Gemma Rader. The West. Let's see.
Oh,
Devin
we got
Kim.
some close people.
Devin Kim holding on to that coveted 100th spot with Caitlin Bernardin at 97. Next furthest is 80th. Trista Smith at 102. Oh, man. They were close. So, they didn't lose any, and he almost got an extra one. I'll be curious to see if that was, like I said before, it's like, Mike, 3.5 on average, depending in the top 100 can give you about a game spot. But what we don't know is how many of those 3.5 are already in the top 100, and did they just need the one, right? Was that one person on the outside in? Could have that been the difference of a single game spot? Let's check over to the East. Jillian Volts at 105. Jordan Sheffs. I know I said Sweck the last time.
Jamie Latimer.
Where is Jamie Latimer? 116. Jamie Latimer.
Man, she's killing it, man.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Riley. Amanda Barnhart, 119.
Paige Powers, get it together.
Paige Powers. And look, that's where the penalties matter in this system at 103. Amanda Fisher, 139. Okay, we'll go over to Europe. Oh, Camila Salmonson-Hellman, one of those athletes that had a major penalty, I believe, in 24-1. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Dropped her outside at 101. Massive difference there. And looking through some of those, that's really the ones that we've seen before. Top 100 cut line worldwide, as we just saying. Devin Kim is in. Camila Salmonson-Hellman is out. And let's take a look at game spots post-open relative to last year's numbers. So this is post-open where the West lost 5. God, remember how dramatic this was when we first did episode 1. East gained 2. Europe gained 4 at 16. South America lost their extra 1 that they earned, but Asia held their 2. Africa, their 1. They'll keep the 1 that they've been given. And Oceania got their 2. This is submission window 1 after quarterfinals. No change in the West. East actually lost 1 and Europe gained the extra 1. As we kind of thought what would happen based off the pro ring for the first half of quarterfinals. But then the second half of quarterfinals had the gymnastics test and the weightlifting test, and we figured there would be a dramatic change there. And it wasn't as dramatic as we thought. However, West finally gets a spot back for 6. East takes one from Europe. They move up to 12, Europe down to 16. And Oceania actually lost one. And this is post quarterfinals before finalization of video review. And drum roll, please. This is our final top 100 with the GWTP system. After all videos have been reviewed and individuals moving on to semifinals, West held on. East lost another one. And that went all the way over to Oceania. But what's important here that I want people to sit on for a little bit is the number in these game allocated spots relative to the field competing worldwide based off real-time performance of Open and Quarterfinals. Europe is sitting at 16 based off our system. East has 11. West has only 6. Oceania has the 3. They gained 2 in our system, but this is the 3 that they were allocated by CrossFit as well, so no change there. South America 1, Africa 1, Asia. As we were curious is, would they get that extra spot with the 4 women that were in the top 100? Now, before we get to CrossFit's version and compare it to ours, we were basically seeing this performance all year long. Again, yes, we know the athletes don't know they're competing in this system, but we're just doing this for, this is theater, right? But this is also to show that we know it should be. This is how good the world is right now. Is that a fair take, at least, based off what we've seen in quarterfinals in the Open? Whether how hard they tried or whatnot, but this is the individuals that are competing in semifinals. This is the difference. This is the distribution. This is actual real data.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. And Chase, you might want to earmuff it. One could say that the athletes didn't know the CrossFit system either until Wednesday night. So
Mike, you could say that no one knew what the system was until Wednesday.
John heard it first. It literally is the first person I heard. So it's not too far off.
And I didn't even really know what I was hearing. Spin was the only one that it registered.
Spin was realizing. You could watch it on his face, yeah.
Patrick Clark, I agree with this. Europe certainly deserved 16 spots. Change that word to earned. How close was Asia getting a 3rd spot in your model? I don't know, Mike. How close was Asia getting a 3rd spot?
Oh, it would be a ways, right? Because it's about 3.5. It's about 3.5.
Look at that, right?
Yeah.
No, we just did look. We just looked.
Yeah,
at that,
they
right?
had 4. They had 4, and it's about 3.5. So they would need like 8 more people. They would need 4 more people.
If no one's on
just
the list, where
leave
would they
that out?
Yeah.
So I go all the way down to 150, and then for I think Africa, I just tried to show like how far they were. So there wasn't somebody within.
So nobody's close.
50.
So they weren't even.
But it's about 3.5 to an added spot.
Yeah,
so they would need 4 new people to jump in for that.
So when you go like to the cut line slide, where it had like Camille, so there's 3 Europe athletes. They would need something like that. To really
and what we're not sure of is Camila at the least that one athlete that could have tipped the scales to an extra spot, or would they have needed Julia Jacobson as well? But and then Oceania have 3 in the top, 3 on the outside looking inside the top 5 is how close it could have been. We don't know exactly the number that they had there, but I guess we did. How many they had?
The only reason I can say that for Asia is just because they only had 4. Right. So it's much easier. Where Europe, you'd have to go out through the whole list and do the math.
Yeah.
All right. Is that that is day 1. Oh yeah. Let me get to the end. Okay.
Blank page. Yep.
Athletes removed from the ranking system. We'll go. I guess we're go tackle the men's side.
Are we doing CrossFit compared to y'all's at the end?
Yeah, we'll do it at the end, right, Mike? Because you've got that.
Yep.
I can. Do you want to pull up your? I can pull up your Instagram for that.
Yeah, because then there's compared to what it was, and then there's also.
Well, let's just do that now.
One more that I'm working on in the background. But
all right, so this is our final, right?
Yep.
compared to, let's see, this is the women's game spots allocations. All right, and let's compare this to, I guess I can't compare. I can just share
Pull up
tabs.
CrossFits. Oh yeah, you can't probably show them at the same time.
All right, so this is CrossFit's post recalculation, removing basically only using and I'll just say this. We all wanted this to be the system to start with, right? You don't use athletes that are not competing in person in your top 100 strength of field because they're not in the field to make it stronger. We wanted this to happen. I'm glad that they went this route. I understand now what some people are having issues with of how they did this and why and at the timing of this. So this is the game spots that are actually happening, right? Europe gets 10. East gets 11. West gets 8. South America got an extra spot, right? They originally had 2, but now they have 3. Africa keeps their 1. Asia originally had 2, and now they've got their 3rd. So now they have 3 and 3 before they had 2 and 2, and then Oceania got their extra spot. Now, if we go back to where our system landed, is West only has 6 based off performance from the Open and Quarterfinals. East has 11. Europe, like we said before, 16 in this system based off their performance worldwide in Open and Quarterfinals. 10 is what CrossFit has given them based off that. So the East and ours is actually the same right now for the East, right? We both had 11 in this system, which I think personally is a measure of legitimacy of this system because, yes, there are some dramatic changes, but there's also some relevance here between the two as well. But the big one here, and this is what a lot of people have been talking about, is South America gets 3, Asia gets 3, Europe only gets 10, and in our system, Europe had 16. Asia did get that extra spot, right? So their performance got them an extra spot. We only give them 1, CrossFit gives them 2, so that extra spot makes sense, right? They've earned that both sides. But South America didn't get any, and now they're sitting in 1 in this system and 3 in the previous one.
Yeah, the biggest takeaways, I think most people are okay with taking 2 people from Europe and giving them to the West. That athlete performance at the games will be similar, close enough either way, right? Europe earned it on their performance. So if you send 16 Europeans, I wouldn't be upset. But if you take 2 of those, put them in the West for the games, it would be they're deserved. They would do fine. They would do fine in the games. I'm just thinking, like, how would these women perform at the games? Mm-hmm. I think you even add 1 to Oceania. Whoever 4th place in Oceania is, they will still do fine at the games. They'll have their moments. The extra person in Asia and then the extra 2 people in South America will not do anything. Right. They will be 37th, 38th, 39th, and 40th. And that is
part
where
of that is just based off statistics too. I mean, it sounds harsh coming like audibly, but if you look at statistically what the last person of those 2 regions do at the games traditionally almost every single year is that, and now you're adding another person to that.
You're giving them both 1 more. So there's 3 people that potentially could make a difference at the games, probably coming out of Europe, that we're just saying, oh, no, these are reserved for the 3 last spaces in the game, the 3 last spots in the games, where it didn't necessarily, like real-time performance, all 3 of those people would be from Europe. And if y'all, so that would be 13 spots if you're okay with the 2 going to the West and the 1 going to Oceania.
And I mean, we've been doing this show since when, Chase? Like, we did a version of it last year, right? Yeah, right. And we've been going through the Open and Quarterfinals. I think a big thing of the reaction in the last 24 hours, even by my own page, so I won't try to like say it's a bunch of other people freaking out, but is if we were to post, or if CrossFit was to have used the GWTP system all year long, and the last time they showed anybody any of the spots was right after the games, maybe, which they don't even actually do. We did that.
Right.
And then you see yesterday that Europe gets 16 spots and West gets 6. Like, you would still have
that reaction
basically the same reaction.
You would
You
have
would
the
have
same
reaction.
reaction, but the performance of those girls, I can understand. Like I can be like, they were better. They
True.
did
Right.
better. It's
Yeah.
nobody's fault in the West. They were better. That's
Yeah,
not the case here.
No, it's not.
See what I'm saying? Like, explain.
No, it's
that.
not at all. I was just speaking to the piece of like just the sticker
Just for
shock,
the
basically,
dramatic
of, like,
reaction.
Oh, it would be
Yeah.
jaw dropping. Yeah, in the West,
Yeah.
and I'd be on a podcast saying, "Listen, girls, y'all got to get it together because
Yeah,
this year."
Your girl Mirjam Van Roer would just be
Oh,
top of the
yeah.
top of the qualifying list. But I think that would, and this is the right show to talk about it, that would then push a big conversation on, was the programming right for
Correct.
finding
Correct.
Europe to get 16 people out of their single semifinal, where it's what does that look like? The second or third heat is basically also like on the cut line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so that's where I think it would likely go, is just like, it would be the same conversation, just slightly different. It would be about programming versus about like rule structure. And it would be about
True.
But then take this year, Mike, like this year. And I mean, I think everybody's in agreement. The quarterfinals were wonderful. I think, and like Spin even did an article of like correlate, and
cool.
every single workout had the exact same correlate to, which is insane.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that feels almost impossible. So then it's like, no, they did great. They did a great job. This is what it is. The West sucks. Like that's what it comes out. It's what it would come out to.
Yep. You're preaching the choir. I mean, I was just trying to bring up another piece of it that
and you're right.
But like,
for sure.
I'm the one looking at their like open and quarters and adding them together. Like, yeah, there's a lot of great athletes in
But
in
even
Europe,
with,
and they deserve
say
more
that,
spots, but
yeah, but even with the reaction to something like that, what you can do is you can go, you should have done better here. You had every opportunity to do so. This is based off your performance collectively as a region versus, okay, this is a reaction to what we're getting from CrossFit. And it's only because people got taken out, and not necessarily because someone is performing better. It's just that there's less of us on the leaderboard because they're going team, or there's less of us in the leaderboard because we're not competing this year, or whatever it is that, you'll get a reaction either way. But you can at least just look at it and be like, here's the data. You knew what the opportunities were. You knew what the consequences were if you did not perform based off this. And this is basically a reap what you sow conversation when it comes to that.
Well, and that's the conversation that CrossFit has to have if they ever look at something like this. It covers all their bases for them without it just being, oh, we took the people that are going team off and now we have these allocations. Because it really doesn't mean anything when you look at it that way. I think Mike's point earlier when he said, you're just moving that window. So you have that 3,000 that goes out on 1 year and it's just 3,000 right in the next year. And it's all based on percentages. So who cares really how you finish? So you don't need to perform. And I mean, we've always said this, and John always says this all the time too. It's about real-time performance, what you did that year that matters. And that's where your strength of field should come. Strength of field shouldn't come from before, and it should matter what you did in the open. And this is what this program does for that. And that's something that we're just showing. And I really don't care that, you could say they didn't, like, if we're looking at our numbers, and granted, they're all hypothetical because CrossFit's not using this, but would they have changed would they have tried harder in the open if they knew that it was going to affect their scores? I would like to say, yeah, because they know that they would have tried harder if they know that the penalties would have affected people the way they would have too. So, you throw those things in there, and this system covers CrossFit's ass on all of those points. It makes it just so it's here's the line, here's the numbers, not a percentage, not you can move your way through. It's perform and you get your spot.
Also, I would rather talk about, I mean, obviously I'm going to say this on a programming show. I'd rather talk about the programming and the importance of that, or what they did or did wrong, than a system that changed and altered the
people that should be there. Right.
That's the difference between you and me, Chase. I would rather just talk about this. I can't stand on programming background. I can just stand on like, well, I ran the numbers and it's different.
Would y'all want to hear the women that I would have had going on the last 6 spots for Europe that were losing to, and I can say who we're losing them to too?
All right, so we have 16. If we go back to the CrossFit system, They have 10.
They have 10.
You had picked. Did you? Yeah. So who would we be
Did you
losing
pick the
based off
12,
your
though?
picks?
Well, I picked all the way down to 15, but he just didn't show that. But I know who I'd put as the 16th spot. So like,
All right. Who are we losing, John?
for Europe, we're losing Claudia Gluck, Elena Talasanaua, Elisa Fuliano, Lucy McGonigal, Amy Kringle, and Sarah Sigmundsdottir.
Damn.
And we're losing those girls to people like Emily Andrade, Andrea Pinheiro, freaking John Young. Like, we're losing those people. We're losing those people to those girls. No offense, those girls. Y'all ain't as good as the Europeans that we're missing. You're not. Now, we are losing to like people like Bethany Flores and Olivia Kerstetter or Kelsey Keel, Kyra Milligan, Danny Spiegel. We're losing 2 of them to those, that caliber. But I would put those in the same caliber. It's the other 4 that I would get upset about.
I mean, that's fair.
Fair. Yeah, it's a good point.
Do you rank Sarah 16th, or did you say that out of order?
No, I think Sarah would have been my 16th spot. Yeah, Sarah would have been my 16th spot.
Oh, okay.
No. But this is just the conversation that is great to have and talk about, and hopefully advancements and improvements can be built upon that type of conversation. So, and that was just the women. Let's go to the men's side. Athletes removed.
It's a little less dramatic, isn't it? The movement's a little less dramatic.
I think so. It is. Yeah, the women.
Yeah, we might speed through this a little bit more.
All right, post open. There are your numbers after week 1, or sorry, the open stage 1. The big thing here, I remember here, was South America men jumping up to 6, and the West men dropping 7, and then Europe basically taking all of those for themselves for 38. Post open, we do stage 1 of quarterfinals, and European men gain even more ground. South America loses what they got, and it all went to Oceania, as both the West and the East lose a total of 6 spots, as Asia gets 1 more male athlete into the top 100 for the first time in our ranking system. And then closing out quarterfinals before submissions and video review and penalties.
Oh, man.
Is Asia got 2. The West is down to 16 men in the top 100. East moved up to 29. South America gained another 3 after they lost 3 after quarterfinal submission window 1. And Europe lost 3 after quarterfinals. And after video review and penalties and acceptance and the top 100 that will be competing in person at semifinals, Europe went up. Everybody else went down. West lost 2. They have 14 men in the top 100 in our system. North America East has 29, South America 5, Africa 0, Asia 1, Oceania 7. But the 5 that all dropped all went up to Europe, and now they're sitting at 44 men in the top 100. Let's look at Oceania. Bailey O'Brien is your last one in for that region at 86. Ben Fowler at 105. Jack Laker at 108. In Asia.
Holding it down.
Senegat. Yeah, Senegat. 1 for 1. In 91st, just outside, not close enough in this system. Williams Rios at 94th is the last man in for South America. But look how close the other ones are. Omar Martinez, Kaike Servane. I know, I forget what letters do that whenever they come over.
It's
from
any of the accent marks that kill me.
Nikolai.
Yeah, maybe Nikolai. At 110 and Marcus Moriera. But honestly, when you think of a worldwide ranking and how this whole system, these 4 are very, very close.
Yeah, they are.
To making a difference. I'm actually very surprised to see the 4 men out are so close to the top 100.
It's almost a guaranteed spot if they all 4 make it.
Yeah.
And especially with the quarterfinals penalty system that's there. Like, I mean, like a Paige, like a Nick Matthew, if in this system, if somebody dropped like a rock, like, or a couple people did, these athletes would jump right in. Yeah.
Because they're not getting graded as a hard of a scale, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Is Gary Lightfoot going individual? If he is.
Yeah, my bad.
That's fine. Then okay, make it 45 then. Make it 45 going into to Europe. That's just one more. Oh, I wonder who they took it away from. Well, we'll find out who's in 100.
Probably North America West.
Keelan Henry on the outside. Like I said, Africa has 0 men in the top 100.
This is why you're not going to be able to get to the semifinals, John.
North America West.
Held out by
Oh, 101. Maximilian Krieg. Look at there.
Maximilian Krieg. So that's not it. So maybe it's from the East that they're going to take away from. William Leahy the fourth, also known as Bill Fourth, depending on who announces who's in and who's out. Josh Felix, this is the East. Since they had so many, we just had the ones that are on the outside looking in. And then Nicola Coley out of Europe. Those are the ones that just missed it. Top 100 cut line. Here you go. Europe. All right. So they're holding at 100. So no change.
Yeah,
right?
Harry Lightfoot would have been somewhere right there.
Jeez,
European man in and European man out.
Also, West was real close.
Dude, West, look at that.
Three,
Max
right there.
Ryan,
That's what I'm saying.
Kristen Harrison and Sam Dancer. Dang. Three guys just outside the top 100. Omar Martinez at 102, as we said before, and Ben Fowler at Oceania. Yeah, but West that lost, they were down to 16?
14.
Man in the top 100?
14.
Oh, 14. Oh, the women was 16, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Game spots. Post-open. Okay, this is post-open. Everybody, hold on. We're not there yet. Post-open.
Worse. Oh, no.
Okay.
You're already at 7.
West lost 3, so they're sitting at 7. North America East held on to 12 spots. Europe gained 4 spots post-open based off the game spots prior to the season starting, based off the top 100 from CrossFit. South America men gained 1. Africa, Asia kept their 1. Oceania kept their single. They still have the 1 spot that they earned. As we move to quarterfinal submission window 1, Europe got another 2, so they're sitting at 16 game spots. North America East lost 2, so now they're sitting at 10. South America lost 1. They're sitting at 2. Africa 1, Asia 1, Oceania got 1 spot after quarterfinals submission day 1. Let's look at end of quarterfinals. So after quarterfinals is over, but before it's official, the West lost another 1. Now the men are down to 6 game spots. North America East got 1. They're at 11. South America men got a 2nd spot based off this prior to video review. Europe lost their 1. They're sitting at 15. Oceania 3, Asia 1, Africa 1. And the final results after video review is Europe got the spot back. South America lost their 1. The West men are sitting at 6 spots, East at 11, Asia, Africa 1, and Oceania at 3. So this is our final top 100 or ranking and game spot allocations using the GWTP Strength of Field System. Now this is ours. Now let's take a look at what CrossFit's is after they had their system changed. And East is the same. They have 11. They got 11. Europe, 10 versus what did they have? 15? 16. So both women in our system for Europe had 16, but in this system, it's only 10. The West was given a gift of 3 more. They had 6 in our system. South America got an extra 1. Asia held their 2, Africa 2, and Oceania got an extra 1 than years past.
Now, this is slightly different than the women, in my opinion.
Okay.
And again, if it's real-time performance, I have no problem. The West gets 6 people. But when I tell you these 6 people that the West would have going, and then the 3 people that don't go for the 6 others that Europe sends, the people that aren't going are better.
All right, well, let's go through
the European ones.
Let's go through your picks, John, based off our system was 6. This new system is 3.
So I'm just going to say the people that will make it, okay? And then you tell me how anybody has a shot after these 6. Justin Medeiros, Patrick Vellner, Brent Fikowski, Samuel Quant, Colton Mertens, and then Bill Leahy the 4th.
Oh.
Now that is as stacked of a 6 as you want to make it.
Yeah.
And then the guys who will miss out, it's 9, right? 9 for
9.
CrossFit system.
Yes.
So Brandon Luckett, James Sprague, Tudor Magda, and if you want to throw another one in there, Cole Graysaber. Those are the guys that will not be going.
Okay.
And the European guys that will go in their place are Bronislaw Linkowitz, Colin Bouchard, Guillaume Briand. I can't really say it.
Yeah,
and then
Guillaume.
Kevin Jers, and then other names that you probably don't know. Those
Where's
like
M-Dog?
M Dog. So we're losing the 3 or 4 guys that I said from the West to those guys, and I do not believe those European men are as good at the games at all.
Interesting.
Not close.
And you said,
but I would not have a problem with this. I'm just bummed out, right?
Yeah.
Because it's on real-time performance. I cannot argue it. But
so like it's almost the opposite of what we just had.
100%. 100%. Yes.
Right. So this is our system as it stood. And so knowing that CrossFit's giving the West 9, ours was 6 based off performance in Open and Quarterfinals.
But that's the beauty
that would have missed out in this system versus
CrossFit.
CrossFit. Who are the ones that you had on the outside looking in?
James Sprague,
Brandon Luckett, James Sprague, and Tudor Magda. And Cole Graysaber, I was low on Cole Graysaber. He might do really well. I'm kind of regretting where I put him, but
these guys are all very similar to me.
That's what I was sort of thinking.
Ooh.
Like
Right?
none of them. I love James, but none of them actually jump
Like
off the
those
page to me. As
okay,
like,
they might all be
this
similar,
is a
but they're
disservice.
all
of
better
like,
than the other guys that are going in Europe.
Yeah,
Between Lankwitz,
for that comparison, yeah.
So I don't just if you want to say they're all similar, they are all better than every single name that's going from Europe that's in their stead.
But what the system does, because you're right, John, you're totally right about that, and the fact that they are, the plus to this system is that doesn't matter because because we've taken real-time performance out. It's like it's almost kind of like we've set up with this way. It's almost like a Grand Prix system that we've been talking about in the CrossFit space for like years and years and years. Everyone's building their points to get the spots to go. And so if everyone is performing, you're going to get the right people there, and it ends up.
But Bronislaw got some home runs in these games. Okay, so the best games he could have asked for.
We pulled up the games finished last year. Sprague was 25th. Bronislaw was 26. 6 points separating the two of them.
Dude,
but the thing is, but you have to draw the line somewhere, though. You have to draw the line somewhere. It ends up being a fair line to put down there anyway. If you're doing in-season competition, how you place and all those points matter. So I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I mean, James and Luckett and even Cole, like those guys, they should be. I mean, okay, they're right on there with Braun, but the other guys, not really. But at least they're performing. And you may have a year.
You cannot say a guy who's never made the games in freaking Europe is better than 3 guys who have made the games in America.
I didn't say that. However, what I said, I'm sorry, you're just talking in general. But what it does is it shows. I mean, when you have
make comments like that, go back to be friendly, Patrick. I'm on block you. You make comments like that.
Don't worry, John's not a moderator. You're not going anywhere.
You're fine. You're fine.
That's how I joined the show. I was afraid Taylor was good.
What it does though is it allows for people's improvements in that year, and I think that's what's important. Because you're going to have people that like really improve a lot in 1 year, So if you perform, you get credit for it.
And absolutely, I'm fine with it being like that. And those guys don't get to go. I'm totally fine. But it kind of makes North America West the old Central region.
Right.
Like
no, it totally does.
It's not Central Region's fault that they have 3 of the top guys in the top 10 guys in the world.
They should have done more in the Open.
Never got to make the games because of it. Like it's. You're going to have heartbreaking stuff like that. Get better, West.
Right.
Like, Europe is smoking it. Like, right? Like, I cannot argue real-time performance at all. Those guys earn their way to the games. It's just a bummer that I think, those other guys would have placed better in the games. But that's fine. And I would rather that be a talking point than what we have, like you guys said, like the system's wrong, right?
I couldn't say with as much conviction as you that there'd be that dramatic of a difference between those 4 and at least Bronislaw and Bossard.
Well, and now that they're doing the same
the
workouts at semifinals, like you could look at how they each did at semifinals and say, okay, well, if James finishes 5th and makes it, then
All right, well, then let
I
me
don't
ask
know
you
if
this.
that's
Would you
happening.
change the
But versus
system
Kevin
if
Jers
that
or somebody,
happens?
it's like,
But it's not like Gray Saber and Luckett and Sprague. I know he's only been 1 year. Like none of those guys have ever killed it at the games.
I get what you're saying, but then let's take Bronislaw, Colin, Guillaume Miron, Kevin Jers, and put them against those 4 guys, and it like those 4 versus those 4.
Yeah.
I bet the difference is overwhelming. Like if you say just placement for placement and add them all up, I bet it's over 20 places combined.
Write those names down so we
Combined.
can check it out after semifinals.
I would like to see that.
Yeah, we're like you understand what I'm saying?
I think that's a great 4-on-4. I wouldn't say like I said, as clear as day, one's going to just crush the other one. Yeah. Because it's not like, I mean, Sprague's mid-pack, Bronislav is mid-pack. At the games, you never know because of the strength and odd object elements that are always there. Of course, it's going to play into Bronislav's hands, but he's also been working on his weaknesses as much as anybody, especially when he's with Kotler. Sprague's always going to get better. The kid's only 21, 22, so he's just going to continue to grow. But
I think there are games that Colin Bershard gets crushed in. Like
who's the other one?
Like can't do it.
I think the same thing happens to those 3 guys too. Every one of them can get crushed by something.
I disagree.
All right, well, they do. So, like, it's been.
Do you want to
They're
pull up
better? Is what
Mr. Hiller's question? Because
What's
I think
it
we
about?
talked about it before you joined.
Where's
But
Hiller's question?
Like Colin Bershard's like a 2 years ago Victor Hoffer.
I see
This
it as
one?
the top one.
John gets a new
John.
MacBook and gets all high and mighty. Is that the kind? No, I'm sorry.
Well, no, that's the one I was looking for. No, I see one about,
it's just
like
the adopt the model.
yeah.
If they adopt the model, do you think they change how to program the open and quarters? We pray that that's the case.
Should they? Absolutely.
For the open, because I still think they did a decent job in quarters. They can take that model and improve upon it with little tinkers here. It's like maybe add a bar to the barbell. Like if you just had to redo it to just make it a bit more on top of things, right? Little tweaks here and there. But I think that's a must. Absolutely a must, Hiller.
And again, I'm not the programming guy, but I think if we got like last year's Open in quarterfinals,
Wait, did Colton
with
Murray
like
even-
with like a max,
I would agree with
like
that.
a max lift.
Colton Murray's
or
question.
something.
Sorry, Colton.
Hey, you didn't even
oh.
say some random commenter. I think it's a great question. Yeah, Mike, I agree. I think last year's Open was great.
Yeah.
You had kind of,
But it had a max lift in it. Is where I was maybe thinking. Is like you start to then play that game, which they are seemingly walking away from, or
they don't want
not touching for a little while. Is having a well-rounded quarterfinals more important in this system? Yes, and I think we saw that. I think there's a version of this. If we did this last year, where we'd be like, oh well, they had that thruster, and guys are doing 345 thrusters, and then jogging, or as Andrew Hiller showed, walking in the other workout, and seemingly now they're in quarterfinals and they look pretty high and mighty on this list. But like, I think there's places where we did see good workouts this year, but yes, it would be turned up to 11 to say like, we have to have the perfect Open and the perfect quarterfinals for this system to really truly show that we didn't just let somebody in the back door.
I agree, but I'm in that camp.
It needs to be
regardless of
perfect
the
in the
system.
Open. Like instead of a max thruster, have 5 minutes of max thrusters with 155.
There are ways to do it.
Yeah,
There are ways to do it.
16.2 was one of the perfect ways. 17.3. I mean, pick your ascending ladder stop gate programming and put it in the Open. Perfect. Everybody
I don't even mind
gets to play.
18.2. I know Chase didn't like that one, but I don't mind that one either.
That's still a 1 rep max.
Yeah, but it's after you have to do the workout.
No, I took a guy that had been doing CrossFit for 3 days, and he went in and power clean 315.
They make the workout harder, Chase. I don't know.
Okay, well that's fine. But like, there are ways.
There are
you can
ways.
take that format and change the way it's scored. For an example, like I have no problem testing a max lift if it's combined with something to offset that in one score. We're getting off the rails here. Okay. Now, I mean, we've been having the conversation round robin of all this. Is the new system that CrossFit had implemented that was breaking news on the spin on Wednesday was, all right, we're going to take our top 100 and remove team athletes from the rankings and only use the people that are competing in person in semifinals for the top 100. And at first blush, I know I was like, hallelujah, finally, they're doing it. And then when the numbers changed, and conversation that Spin was having is how, I guess, upset he was about it. I didn't understand it, right? I was like, this is because all I saw was, okay, when the first system was implemented that CrossFit had in place, mathematically impossible for any smaller region to get an extra spot. And everybody hated that fact, and that pissed off everybody else. And then we kept saying, it's like, well, at least just use the people that are competing in person for your strength of field. And then when that changed the spots, of which everybody said nobody would get, and then they finally got, then everybody was pissed off again. And I didn't understand that. But then, John, as you were saying and explaining of, it's not the fact that it did change, because we do want to see other semifinal regions with an opportunity to perform and earn spots. What you're saying is that no spots were actually earned this year with removing team athletes. They were just given to the regions that didn't have as many elite team athletes competing in the field. So it wasn't necessarily performance-based per se, because we know it's performance-based so they get to the top 100. We get that. But
it's not like exact pity spots. That's not the right terminology, but that ended up the outcome.
I'm not calling it pity spots, but that's what you basically just said.
But like the outcome was pity spots. I don't think that was their intention.
No, I don't think so either.
That's what I'm saying. Like that wasn't their intention.
Right.
No, I think the system that they have in place does not give points towards performance. It gives points towards consistency. And it's saying, I did all of the events that CrossFit held for 2 years. That's the only thing it rewards. And the way it rewards it is also flawed, because it gives different points to different regions. So like Oceania, let's say, because there's a big conversation around now Oceania got 4 spots. They finally got them. And my response on Spin's post was, but for who? Because those athletes aren't there.
None of them that were the problem.
Cara, Tia, Jamie, like even Emily DeRoot, who got her own spot last year, is on Cara's team. So like, yeah, it's going to be great to see hopefully Gracie, Maddie Sturt back, and people
it's
like
hilarious
that.
But Maddie can't get back to the games, and now she's going to win the semifinals. And then they give the spots when like it's like, oh, I didn't need it now,
Yeah.
But Oceania in the scoring system that they have actually gets more points, like by far more points for somebody that finishes like 15th place at Oceania than somebody that finishes 15th place in South America. But so like it also is flawed, because when even within the smaller regions, they don't consider those two finishes the same thing. But that Oceania was getting that because of Tia, because of Cara, because of Jamie Simmons. And then they all left. And it was just sort of like, well, we got this system that has a 2-year look back period, and we have to apply it. We can't just do this system and make it about this year. They probably could, but they chose not to. So like it then just becomes this, like, we are now weighted down by and giving pity spots because the system is the system. It was within the first couple slides, but I put out that post where like it's like the snap happened and half the athletes from women's games last year are in black and white. Like that happening. I know Brian Spin put out like that post around like, hey, Cara and Jamie and all these Oceania athletes can like pick themselves up by their bootstraps and get more spots for Oceania, or similar for South America. Like that didn't really happen. They all just were like, no, teams. They switched the order. Teams went first this year for quarterfinals. So the teams knew, hey, we already made it. I'm not going to go and blow myself up on individual workouts. I'm just going to go and do it. Like we didn't see hardly any teams athletes. So it made CrossFit's process, and here's my soliloquy that I keep going on, John. But like we made CrossFit's process fairly easy to then on Barbell Spin on Wednesday night go, you know what? We're actually just going to use the semifinalists, because nearly that's all that was left that had points. Like all of these athletes are gone. Mal's finally off the list. There's a whole bunch of other Paige and them, like they're all gone. And now it's just sort of like, well, we can do this easily now because that's all that's left.
Yeah.
Is these guys.
I think it's just, yeah, I mean, I get it. And I get it more now that putting that in terms of, yeah, it's like, okay, everyone performed the same, nothing changed, just we removed people out of the equation so people moved up the leaderboard. And I mean, a lot of big athletes, as you guys said this year, are going team or not competing. And that hurts those bigger, more, I would say, densely packed top tier athletes than the other ones.
Yeah, like it's a bit of the perfect storm. Like I think if, well, it's hard to say, these athletes would have not gone team or still competed or like still competed at quarterfinals or like
mentally been better.
Didn't give themselves to God.
Dang.
So I get
also when they announce it, I like Patrick's question here is like, do you think if they announce this, say, let's just say before the season started, they said, here's the new system, right? The new system is if you're going team and you don't compete at these levels, your scores will be removed from competition or vice versa. Would that have changed anybody's rankings, decisions, feelings about this?
Or do you think it should have been based off last year? Here's the spots that you would have this year.
Oh,
so I think system, because then you could see,
out.
oh shoot, North America West only gets 6 people. Like, you know what I mean?
I would have been doing what I did last night for that system whenever they announced it. So yeah, I mean, that's
but I'm saying you would have done that way ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then we
Like,
could
show
say,
you the impact.
hey, these people all need to do better in the open. And then to make that, you know, you have more spots.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, say that for every region.
Your system that we have here is built partially around like and I got Harry Lightfoot wrong, but like is taking out the team's athletes, taking out the people that didn't do semifinals, although that's a little bit different for this one. But like if they were to announce that in January or when the rule book came out or like any time besides this week, I'd be fully in agreement. My actual issue, and I like, it is odd that where some of these athletes are coming from and that John's point about like, well, whose spots are they taking sort of stuff. Yeah. My issue is just literally they either one just decided to change this now or decided not to tell anybody until now. And like pick which one you think is a better option. Like we just decided to change the rules midway, right before semifinals.
Which Boss has stated that they're against doing. Like he said that in the spin in the same podcast. Be like, hey, even if it's like rough and we know it's rough, we're gonna stick with whatever we said we were gonna do for that year and then try to change it the next year.
That's a good point.
He said that.
He said it was about penalties and videos and all.
But I mean, like,
but I mean, the point's the point. Yeah.
I like that. Do you guys?
But
I feel it. I feel it was kind of knee jerky, honestly. I think there was a lot of talk about it, and so they tried to come up with a way to at least hit that, because they do this on a lot of things. They'll go one step in the direction that they should go. It's like, okay, that makes sense, but you didn't say anything about doing that. You never said that you were going to do it. It's like, oh, you know, we probably. I mean, how long have we been saying this whole time since December about taking everyone out, and what that looks like? All it would take is one person to go, maybe we should take those names out. Hey, that's a great idea. Let's take them out. So they took them out. That's what it seemed like.
Do you think they heard y'all's cries, my cries, everybody's cries, and then we're like, oh, well, this will fix it. And then it made it. That's what I think.
That's what I feel.
This problem now.
It feels like it.
What would you guys? All right, now that we're at where we're at, and would you rather them just stick with it through the year and then change it after, or this changed right now?
I would rather Asia and South America don't get extra spots, Chase. I would rather give it to the fittest people. That's what I would rather. I would rather Europe either give Europe 6 more women or give the West 3 women in Europe with 3 women. Or that's what I would rather.
That wasn't on the list, John.
Yeah, of the options that you did
can't
say,
you
Jake,
can't go writing option F on there just because you want to put that one.
So-
on. Come on now.
It's like Hiller debating on around the whiteboard. This is the answer to my question, and this is mine. Is like your
But I'm gonna
question
talk about
sucks.
yeah,
You win.
Wow. Yeah. To your point, Chase, I don't know how Brian Spin does this, but the 2 times that he's had Boz on was this past Wednesday when Boz proactively said, "Hey, we're changing this, and it's going to come out on Friday." And then November of last year. And what he said in November of last year was, and Brian asked him at the end of the interview, "Hey, you're keeping the strength of field system as it is." And he said, "It's not necessarily a copy and paste, but it's basically a copy and paste. We're just going to run it back. We need to let it marinate for longer than a year before we go changing it."
Especially when you base it off of like a 2 year.
Especially when you base it off a 2-year look
top
back.
100.
Is you can't just go and change it and say like,
We get
hey,
1 year in. Hey, I don't like it. I don't like it.
yeah. Like, so in November, that meant he wasn't going to do that. And so just put the timeline out to last Wednesday from November and say, pick a date. And if you knew it, say it. Because right before the Open, it works. Even right before quarterfinals, it sort of works because it would have told team athletes, hey, you actually don't have to try this. We understand the scenario that we were laying out to you last year. If you want to build it up for your region and go compete and try to get more spots, that was your way to do it. But we're not even going to look at your scores. Read that how you want. But like that's the thing to me is like, yeah, they could have noted anything they wanted and say like, hey, we hear Chase's show is killer, and we maybe want to look into some of those ideas. Like, sure, okay, cool. In August, the 3rd week of August or 2nd week of August is a great time to look back and say, okay, what are all the things we're changing? Knowing that Dave and Boz have stood on, we are not changing something this year. And Boz's was in a 30-minute span of saying, we're not changing anything, but hey, we're changing something.
I will say I was very, very surprised that they made a change like this. Because to your point, Mike, is like they've never, well, I don't want to say never, rarely ever make a in-season change. In fact, they've stated as such as they don't like to do that for this very reason. And I was very, very surprised that they made this change.
And again, I think it's a good change.
I do too, right?
That's a bad outcome.
That's the thing that makes it like now we're on this show saying like, oh, we tried to change it and they don't like it now. It's like,
we're not saying that. This is a great decision to make.
You're trying. HQ, you're trying. Thank you.
Yes.
It's we got to keep trying because it's still wrong.
It's an attempt that I think it seems more like just trying to shut everybody up. So like we did something, you don't like that. It wasn't a thought through thing. And I know that.
I wouldn't go that far. I think it's like maybe we didn't foresee the butterfly effect there.
I mean,
they ran the numbers. They would have had to run the numbers.
To see, I feel.
Well,
it actually been easy because you just run it and you're like, oh shit, look at this.
It's a Patrick Clark's point of giving me things to talk about.
Everybody.
I've basically created this niche of that I am the guy that created this for Chase and all of that sort of stuff, where I then picked apart every single thing that Boz said. And the other thing that he said was we ran, because John asked him, way to go, John, right at the end of it, he was talking about it. We ran both versions and the women's is impacted. And that means, and there's the first post there with Paige and Katrin in it.
That it wasn't knee-jerk?
Well, not that it wasn't knee-jerk, but they had the ability to look at both. And the problem that's presented in that sentence is that they looked at both and they inserted themselves into, do we want this one or this one?
And they picked the one with the worst people.
And they picked the one that builds up smaller regions.
Oh.
With the worst people.
So this post I put out this morning.
Okay.
It robs a lot of the things that we've been doing here. But this is my multiverse of madness a little bit here. This is the current version. And so what I present here is vote. This is the men's top 10. And then if you flip to the next slide, this would be the top 10 if Boz didn't say and do what he said on Wednesday and they didn't change it.
So if this, so this is new
Top
system,
100.
top 100, right?
Yep.
The first slide.
Yep.
Right. And this would have been, if they had changed nothing from last year in their system, this is what it would have been if they didn't make the change that they just made this Friday.
Correct.
Look at the bottom of that slide and where all the spots go down from and where they go to.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then I do the same for the women.
Okay.
So it jumps, it's similar to what we've done on the show. It jumps a little bit out of order, but the last one.
This is what it is now.
He put Barkley's comment in there because this is the truest comment ever.
Right.
Butterfly.
The butterfly.
Barkley, this butterfly is going to be in the first team.
So this is then, skip to the men. This is the real one that we've shown already.
This is the real one.
Now, drum roll.
That the gay
Europe,
spot.
Europe gets its spot. Now the only difference is South America
doesn't get the spot.
Gets their base. So for the people that are like Europe needs more spots, this one does that. Oceania still gets rewarded. So it is a mix of both.
Yeah.
They would have gotten that extra one if nothing changed.
Mm-hmm.
And then
the women's
North America stays the same.
It's much
but
more.
If you flip over to the women's, this is the women's currently. This is real life. Yeah.
So this is the current one. This is what's actually happening in semifinals this year. And the next slide is what it would have been if they just kept the system that they've had for last year.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's a lot, man.
That is a lot. Wow. So West goes up to 9. North America East goes up to 12. Europe 11. And then South. Then all the other regions basically go back to what CrossFit gave them.
Yep.
Yeah. And then this is my question to John in reaction to this. Does this feel right?
Yeah. Yeah. It feels much more right than the other one. I mean, if you really want the answer, like Asia, South America, and Africa should all have one person. Oceania should have 3 people, and then you give the rest to the big 3 regions. That would be the best games. That would be now. It's not real-time performance, and I'm all good with real-time performance. If they have more spots for real-time performance, they've earned it. But as far as what would be the best games, you get those spots in those regions. Asia, Africa, South America all get 1. That would be the best games.
Yeah.
Oceania, I would keep the 3.
I like the pre-qualifier that you have for that decision too, though. Like when you're just saying games, which honestly, at the end of the day, that's kind of what it should be.
Which is it's all I think about is just what would give us the best games. And there's women in the other regions that would have more home runs, or it would influence the games more than those other women. And I know people like Patrick Clark doesn't agree with me. I don't care because
he's agreeing with you. He's agreeing with you.
He's agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Well, then as far as making the best games, then you make everything standard across the board, and then you get your worldwide ranking like they used to have way back in the day, so you can see who your top 40 there, and you just take those people. But it's hard when you're trying to make it inclusive worldwide, so you have to give something.
Real-time performance solves everything.
I agree.
Right.
I think it's fairest.
And
it
might not be the best games, but they didn't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
it
all
still
good with
has-
You're not losing
perfect.
that much, though, either from the best games. I mean, you're still allocating, and if they perform that year, you're going to get some people in there. You may lose a person or two for the most part, but it's the fairest down the middle that allows for your inclusion. Okay, here's our world, but we're going to get our best athletes based on the athletes that are performing that year, and that's what's important.
Yeah. And before we hop off here is like, to be fair, like our system that we use, which is we believe is the best system for performance-based qualification. If the athletes know that this is the system, I think a lot of things also change in those numbers at the end of the day too.
I agree.
Maybe not a ton, but the right changes, I should say, happen. Right?
100%.
Everybody gets their stuff together. Everybody makes the open matters more.
tries in the open.
More emphasis. The quarterfinals matter the most, and then it's all put together and like, yeah. At the end of the day, we'll see.
Yeah, I think there's and I know we're gonna wrap it up. I just to wrap up the conversation. After looking at this so long, the only thing that I may look at further is something that identifies who did well at the games and truly did well at the games, and then says, okay, these regions, maybe this region gets 2 guaranteed spots, and then we start divvying it out. Not 5, where it's like, all right, they're just going to have people go that aren't going to do anything, and not 3 or like stuff like that, but like just something that looks at, and it's a look back. It's similar look back period. It looks back and says, okay, how did those regions do at the games? We got them there. We gave them these spots. Do they still deserve 5, 5,
No.
5, 3, 3, 2, 1, whatever? Is you can just look at it and go like, okay, this year you're going to start with 2,
And that's why I'm
then
so
we're going to add
harsh.
to it.
That's why I'm so harsh when we talk about those regions, because we constantly been like, do they need these people? Do they need these? But they're always bad.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. There's Sayer Kaya is not bad, but everybody else is. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like they're never great.
That's
when
why
you
you
go
have
past the first person, past the second person.
That's why you just give the 1. I don't think you should go back for the. Who cares what they did last year? It's a new year.
Yeah.
Everybody gets their 1. That's fair across the board. Now you go and perform.
I know. Then we get that slippery slope. It's like, well, maybe they get 3.
That's
or
right.
Maybe they
Yeah,
get 2.
see,
Like,
'cause
hey,
if
I know.
Then it's subjective,
I just
and you
weight
don't
that
want
a
it to
little
be
bit
subjective.
to like.
Yeah.
This is the most objective way to do it. Everyone
love
gets their 1 spot, and then perform, and
then
you'll get your
real-time
spots that way.
performance.
Real-time
And
performance.
you're done.
Well,
God,
look,
that's good,
guys,
Chase.
We're gonna wrap this up. Chase, you're gonna get a version in your text that is if this then only used active semifinal athletes.
Oh, yes.
Which is we don't need to do another hour and a half. And I don't need to do 40 more slides. But yeah, I'll send you that one.
Well, awesome. Well, listen, John, thanks for rolling with us this whole series. Thank you to all you guys watching and rolling with us this whole time. We just proof of concept. That's what this whole thing was. But also, like, it just goes beyond just those competing and what everybody wants in the space. It's more media, more coverage, more excitement, more engagement, and that's what this is going to do. And we spent it out an hour and a half talking about the end result of there. And then, Mike, sincerely, thank you so much for all the work that you put into all of this, because nobody wants to sit here and just look at our faces without data, something to look at and chew on. And you did all of that. So I cannot thank you enough for everything that you did for us. And if you guys want more content like that you won't get from us for most of the year, go to Known and Knowable on Instagram, and he's pumping those things out on a weekly basis. So, all right, everyone, if you're watching, subscribe, like, hit the bell, join us. We'll be back next week as we got still more and more things to talk about and get prepped for another CrossFit Jeopardy show, because I think Seth Page said he's going to join the next one.
Oh, he'd be a good. He's a good guy.
And then maybe I'll get Casey. Casey Ackray said he wanted to come on board too. So
should
that
go-
might be our next trio.
Like 2009 games.
2009 CrossFit Games.
Women. Yeah.
Well, when John
Let's
comes
make it hard.
back
Oh, he's trying to
on,
get
it'll be like
categories. Okay.
the most unique, obscure categories that only John Young would know. We'll just say
L1 page 5.
Yeah, no, the category would be,
When are you going to get
category
JR
would
on?
be, autistic or not. Would
He
be
come up with the
question.
questions.
Yeah,
He helps come up with the questions.
the category is
that's not fair.
autistic or not, and it'll only be questions that John gets right, and he's going to get them all right. And so the answer would be yes. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining the show. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all your moms out there. And we're going to close things out a little bit differently, because music's one thing, but I love the video.